sounds maybe a little bit cheesy, but Terminator wasn't Terminator when it started. It was actually just a run. I had started a 5K run to raise awareness for youth addiction. And so, you know how we have the breast cancer awareness run? And so, my eyesight's bad. I can't see you.
I promise I'm here.
I need new glasses. And so I wanted to just, I was actually going through it myself at the time with my daughter Eden. And so I had been going through or had gone through treatment. I ended up going through treatment with Eden 4 times. And so I can't remember if it was in between a couple of treatment times or whatever, but it was just happened to be going through that journey with her at some part in that journey. And just the, as a parent dealing with an adolescent in addiction, and just the stigma that I faced, the judgment, ridicule, not understanding, I think the just people not knowing. I don't know if it's just not being educated, and honestly, in all fairness, I think some of it too was just where, as a society, where we were all at that time, because it was right before the fentanyl crisis hit, and so. There were other, obviously, families and youth that were going through this, but it was so silent. You kept it silent. It was not something that people were talking about. Hey, my kid's an addict, you know what I mean? And so, because it was so shameful, it was like, well, you must be a bad parent then. There must be you must be doing something wrong for that to happen to you. And that was a lot of those judgments and preconceived notions, and so when I even had some of those myself, like I did blame myself. And so when I went through treatment at ARC with Eden, Alberta Adolescent Recovery Center, and I was actually one of the only single parents in the whole entire center. All the other parents, and this is like 20 other families or more, so it's a lot of families. They were all like married couples, husbands and wives and families, and lived in the same house on the same block for the last 30 years. They took holidays. They had dinners together on Thursday nights. You know what I mean? All those cliche things that people say that must be the reason why your kid is now a drug addict, And so I'm sitting in this room with all these other families, and that blew my own perception and my own thoughts around, because I thought I caused her addiction.
Right.
And so it's kind of a long, bit of a story, but that was kind of, it came from there that I wanted to start the run. And I honestly, took me a long time to even get up the guts to start the run, because I'm just this little old mom, you know what I mean? This, who's gonna show up, you know what I mean? Like I kind of was just like, I'm a nobody, like who's gonna, what if no one shows up? And so I actually just held on to that little idea of mine for months, and because I was a runner myself, and so every time I would go on my runs, it would nudge me, just where, like, God he would just kept poking me. And, it was like, stop it. I'm not, I was petrified. Anyways, I finally, between the nudging and the poking, and I had a business coach as well at the time, and I finally just was like, I'm gonna do it. And so I took the plunge, and we put it together in like, it was 2-3 months, and we had over 100 people show up.
Wow.
And so it was incredible. And then after that, then it was like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna do it again. So it still wasn't Terminator. It was still this, I didn't want other families to feel the way that I had felt. I didn't want other families to go through what I had gone through. And I also really, really, really believe in that we can have more prevention and intervention. You know what I mean? And so I just really wanted to raise awareness around this issue, because it is an issue, and just help these families to be able to feel free to come forward sooner rather than later, you know, and not be sitting in their homes by themselves dealing with this, because it's heavy. Like, it's heavy, heavy, heavy. And so after 2 years of doing it, then I was like, oh my goodness, this is really like starting to feel like something. I need to call this run something. Like, what am I even doing? And so one day I was driving in my car to the store, and I had the radio on, and so this is a few years ago now, and so they were actually talking about the Terminator movie. It was one of Arnie's many Terminators. I can't even remember which number now. And I had literally like been praying and just like, I need a name. I gotta call this something, like. And so I'm driving, and I'm at the stoplight waiting for my turn to turn, and they start talking about Terminator on the radio. Do you ever have that where you just have that moment where, and I heard the name Terminator, and that was like all I kind of heard. Terminator, and I was like, Terminator, and my hands are on the steering wheel, and it was just like this feeling overcame me, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's it! Like, I probably looked like I don't know what I would have looked like in the car there, but and then it was my turn to turn, and I'm like, that's it! Like, I just had this huge awakening, like, and it was like in that instant that Terminator just encompassed everything that I felt, everything I thought, everything that, you know, because to me, my sobriety and being in recovery and watching what my daughter went through, I just like, it was like badass.
Yes.
You know,
yeah.
like, you know, and but I couldn't think of a name to describe that, you know, feeling. And when that came on the radio, and I was just like, you know, it was like, like it was like, that was it. And it fit everything how I felt.
Wow.
And that's literally like that's how it happened.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
And I love that, you know, the motivation behind it is so that people don't feel alone.
Mm-hmm.
And how many other people are out there thinking, oh, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
You know, or even others saying, like, who are you to do that?
Yeah.
And here you are. I just think that's a great inspiration to anyone who gets an idea of how to create some hope in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're a brave woman. I love it. So what is Terminator now? What do you do?
So now, Terminator has totally evolved, and so now we, after the first couple of years of doing the run, we still have the run. It's an annual run for Terminator, for the foundation, but we also now train youth and young adults that are impacted by drug and alcohol addiction and mental health issues, and we train them to do triathlons as a part of just helping to strengthen their recovery wherever they're at on that scale.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it sprints or what kind of?
It is anything from a beginner try all the way to the Ironman.
Wow. Have
Yeah.
you done an Ironman?
I've done 2 half Ironman.
You are incredible. I mean, I thought you were incredible before. I've done a sprint. And I almost died.
Awesome. That's awesome.
And I thought the whole time, anyone who does an Ironman or even a half Ironman, like, kudos. So,
Yes.
wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible. It's an incredible feeling to do it.
Yeah.
And we're actually gearing up. We're going to be doing a full Ironman this August, so I have to.
Is that what I've been watching? Your training. When you say training.
So no, that's our program.
Okay.
So that's our so those guys that are in training right now. They're going to be doing all sorts of distances. Some of them are doing the full Ironman in August.
Wow.
And that's actually a separate campaign from our regular triathlon, Terminator triathlon programming. So we're just about to launch actually the Iron Giant campaign. So we're going to be doing the full Ironman for that. So yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah, I'm excited.
And so do you find that these youth, like probably the transformation isn't necessarily the triathlon, it's everything leading up to it and what they go through and do they have a coach? Like,
Yeah, we have coaches.
wow.
So yeah, so we've always had like volunteer coaches and stuff like that. And so this year I was able to more kind of like bring on coaches to really help. So Jack Van Dyke is one of our coaches, and Mary Jesse is one of our coaches. And then I'm a coach too, but I lean on them for their expertise. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
They say, all it takes is one safe adult for a youth to really turn around. I always think of Coach Carter.
Yeah, totally.
I'm like, we need more Coach Carters in the world. That
absolutely.
are there, the tough love.
Totally.
But the love.
Yes,
the tough and the love together.
Yes.
That you know that you can push through these obstacles and look what happens, and I'm not gonna let you quit.
Yeah, totally.
But I'm there for you.
Yes.
I think how much youth need that today.
Yeah.
How many youth would be in a different place if they had that?
I agree.
That's
I agree.
the preventative of we just don't know what that does.
Yeah.
So that's powerful.
Yeah.
Wow. And so have you had any stories of youth that have gone through this and are on the other side now?
Yeah, so this is our 4th season that we've been doing the triathlon training, and so we've had some young guys go through our program that have done the half Ironman, that are now in college, university, totally turned their lives around. And these were, I'm thinking of one young man in particular. He was one of our first athletes to go through, and he was a lot of people would have thought he was just a write-off, like he's definitely gonna end up dead. Suicidal, couldn't stay sober, things like that. And he started training with us, and he is now this May will be 3 years that he's been clean and sober. He's in university, going for a geophysicist or something. Like, he's a genius, this young man. And so it really it unlocked his potential for him. And it's done that for all of our athletes that have gone through. My own daughter went through the program, Eden. And Eden this January, she'll be celebrating 3 years clean and sober too. And so she sobered up. She was on fentanyl and heroin. She was using intravenously and living on the streets. And so she ended up coming off the streets. It was December 31st. And then we got her, long story short, but we got her back into treatment at ARC. She did a refresher. And as soon as she came out, she started training with us with Terminator. And a few months later, she did a triathlon as well. And so all of our athletes' stories and journeys are pretty much similar to that. They all, So it's incredible.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
You just never know
Yeah.
what happens when you step out,
Yeah.
you do something, and then these kids will never be the same.
Yeah.
Because you said yes to something a lot greater and bigger than you.
Yeah.
That's, wow, it's absolutely phenomenal. What would you say to parents whose kids are in the middle of addiction right now? What would you say to them?
Always, I think the first thing I say, and I don't just say it because I say it because I mean it, but is that you're not alone. Like, you're not alone. I know what this feels like to go through, and knowing that you're not alone is so important. Knowing that you can reach out, that would be probably my biggest hope, my biggest desire, I guess you could say, is that for these families, for these parents to be able to reach out and to get support, because it's horrific to have to go through this, and it's even worse to have to go through it alone. It can be devastating. Yeah.
Wow. And so who would you recommend what's a good starting place for them?
Well, I mean, definitely they can reach out to Terminator, and we have resources on our website and as well. And then, I will always do my best to help put people in touch with whoever they might need, depending on their situation and what they're going through. But for sure, yeah, I wanted the website to be sort of like a landing place, a landing spot for people, and so we have like a massive resource guide on our website, a list of all the resources in Calgary and the surrounding area. So, yeah.
That's so good, because when you're in crisis, you don't know where to
No,
go.
you don't.
But we can all remember Terminator.
Yeah, well, yeah, and do remember Terminator. I truthfully, I just even had someone reach out to me this morning, too, and same thing. Like it happens a lot. It's happening a lot.
Yeah.
Especially this time of year can be really rough for people.
Yeah. So is it Terminator.com?
TerminatorFoundation.com.
TerminatorFoundation.com. Yeah, that's great. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I think what you're doing is incredible.
Thanks.
I have admired you for so long.
The feeling's mutual.
And we finally get to meet.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, but no, that's great. And I'm so excited to have you at the conference.
Thank you. I'm happy to be there.
Yeah, it's so important to come together. We were
Absolutely.
just together at the community.
I know. See, it's destiny.
And then you do a conference.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
And I think someone I know is speaking at
Yeah.
that conference.
It's like I'll return the favor.
Yeah, that's happening in June. So that's another thing that we started doing, is just because it's really important to me to educate our communities, educate our frontline workers, educate everyone. So yeah,
that is such a need. There's not a lot of trauma informed out there. It's getting there.
yes,
With people who are, first responders, people who are in mental health care. You think that we are equipped, but there's a lot of work to be done.
Yes.
So the more you do stuff like that, the more better off we're going to be.
Yeah,
And our kids will be.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to have you.
Thank you, Connie.
It's going to be
Me
great.
too. It is going to be great.
Yeah.